All right, everybody. Hello, how are you? Okay, so I have had endless requests for shading and to kind of touch on that whole issue. And there's a few things that we're going to cover. These brows I did here were just nothing, just fast brows, just so I could show shading techniques with each, or show a brow with each shading technique, okay? So I made these brows with this stencil. Not only are they good for the procedure, they're awesome stencils to just put on blank latex or in between brows, however you want. This one is to the point, but you could just lay it right on there, trace it, done, take it off, and put it back on the thing, the little piece of paper, and you're good to go. FYI. Just a little trick, so it's not necessarily only for procedure, but you could also use them for makeup application. If you do not have microblading done, you can stick them on yourself. Okay, so that's that. Obviously, all of these were done with the blade I carry in our store. I will tell you, it is a tiny bit of a challenge to get used to. I really suggest you play with it a couple times on latex or anything. But the thing about this thing is you can go at it from any angle. You could even do like straight up and down if you like. However it works for you is fine. But that's what these were done with. Okay, so first thing is first. I am going to show you effects of 3 different methods: machine, manual, and roller. Okay, so we're going to start with manual. We'll do that on this one here. With manual, what you are doing is you're creating density and shadowing, but you are doing it while you are repeatedly jabbing the skin, if you can hear that. Okay, so you're going over and over and over, multiple passes doing this. Okay, which can, obviously it's probably going to create some trauma. I think it's going to create more trauma to the skin, but I think this whole procedure in general creates trauma, right? This one here is, what is this, a 9 double, I think, flat. So you have 2 rows of 9 needles, really, really sharp. This is for a really heavy, dense shade, okay? This one here, I believe, is a 5 round. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 round. And this will give you, a more localized kind of shade. Now you can also get a needle like this, which this is also going to be a really dense shade. And again, this has to be repeatedly stabbed into a location, probably 3, 4 passes at least. This is the same, actually, this is the same blade that I have in my thing. And this one here is a 3 pen. And this is going to give you that little birdie shade, basically. And that is that. I don't even know what I'm using this pen. I should be using my own, but whatever. I'll use it for the rollers. So this is my pen. Okay, so here I am. So on this one, actually, I use Scalpel Louis 13. which is pretty much equivalent to, if you're using Phi brows, it's pretty close to B3. But for the shading, I am going to do Louis 12 and 11. And I also put in a little of the shading solution to loosen it up a little. When you're doing manual shading, you're gonna blow through pigment and like nobody's business. I mean, you're gonna fly through it. It's pretty insane. So that's why I like to dilute it, because with all the passes and the amount of pigment you're wasting on shading, you're probably going to go through minimum 1 pigment cup. So, okay, we're going to start here on this brow. And all I'm going to do here is I'm going to do the spine and the tail. Okay, and hopefully we'll be able to see. So you're doing multiple passes. Now the reason, obviously this is going out of style, because everybody's getting into machine now, right? Which is easier and faster and probably more accurate. Now, let's just say this is like 1 pass, what I'm doing here, okay? So then what you're gonna have to do is you have to keep wiping, because you have to see what's happening if you're laying any pigment at all. Okay, and we'll see the final result when I clean it with oil, because obviously green soap on latex like this does not really work. So now second pass, we're gonna go over it again. And you do have to get in there. Again, wipe. And this is what you're going to be doing on live skin, just for the record, because you have to see what is happening, where the pigment is staying, where you're going, because with all this pigment, you literally get lost and you can't see what's happening. Okay, so we're going to do one more. I'm just going to do one more basic pass. Now, if you can also notice that because I'm going with this one, your strokes will start, you know, to blur a little bit, because you are just going over the same ones. You might slip. A lot can happen. Okay, so then just to show you the other, this one, oh, gross. The smaller one, what it does, I'm gonna get in here with my pigment. And at this point, this is where, like these little blades, this is where you can kind of get, you know, creative. And, you know, if you messed up on a spot, that's where it's nice to go in. But again, we're jabbing, right? So let's say, do you see that little space right there? We're gonna go in right there and fill that, because there's a gap. And this is where you have to be careful. You don't want to go right on top of your stroke. If you go right on top of your stroke, you can blur it out. but just for the point of this video, I'm just trying to show you what the concept is here. In no way, again, I'm going to state it as I try to all the time. I am not a master, I'm not a royal, I'm not a teacher, I'm no one. Okay, so like I said, I was just trying to fill in that gap. And a lot of these gaps I did on purpose, just for the sake of this video. So let's go in there on this brow with our oil, because oil is the only thing that's actually going to clean and let you see what happened. Okay. So you can see where I put the little guys, the little dots, and that effect, that little, you know, birdie shade kind of, just a little bit of, just a little shade. Like that's like an area where it's just a tiny bit of a makeup effect, okay? But on the tail, as you can see, that's where the majority of everything went. Oh, almost lost you. Okay. So that was method number 1. That was basic manual shading. Like I said, shading is something to get creative with. Shading is not, you know, like when you microblade, you have to, if you do, you can count your strokes, you know, everything has to be pretty uniformed. You have to, you know, get everything right. But shading is where you can get super creative and fun. And that's why I really, really love it. It's one of my favorite things. Okay, so also I'm just going to show you the different effects on the side here so you could see. Okay, so right next to the brow, I'm going to do the flat. What that does. And then what this one does. Now, with these needles, remember, you're going deeper than you are with your microblading. So odds are shading is going to stay longer than your microblading. Okay? So you could see the effect, right? The difference. I hope that kind of gives you somewhat of an idea. Okay, let's put that sucker away. Okay, on to number 2. Number 2, I'm going to do machine. This is a 1P. So I'm just using the single just to, this, the only point of this whole thing is just show you the effect. Obviously, you have multiple speeds on your machine depending on what you use. I'm going to put this out about in between 1.5 and 2. See that? And then I'm going to go ahead and suck up some pigment here. And we're going to do this in reverse. I am actually going to show you what it does here first. Okay, so right now I am at the high speed. And when you're doing it, you do a pendulum motion. No, I'm not obviously going deep into the latex as I was with the manual. Okay? So that's the high speed. And again, with this type of thing, you have to lay it a couple times for even anything to really show. So then I'll go to medium speed. And then lastly, I'm gonna go to the slow speed, which is when the most pixelation happens. So those are pretty much your effects, right? So if you're doing ombre brows, you know, you're gonna go on your brow, you're gonna go high, medium, and then this is gonna be your pixelated part if you're doing ombre. But again, for the sake of the video, I'm gonna go back up to high speed. Just suck up some more pigment. Now, again, this is the difference is this is one needle as opposed to 9 or 18 what I was using before. So I'm literally gonna do the same thing I did here. So I'm gonna go through the spine. Again, you're using that pendulum motion, okay? You don't want to do the straight lines. So then we'll come and wipe. And you're going to go back at it again. I also opted out of doing music today because there were some complaints about music. So you just get to hear me breathe. And sniffle because it is allergy season and the shit is in full effect right now. My lashes are falling out and life is falling apart. Now with the machine, you're not creating that much crazy trauma because it's so fast. It's not going to blur out your strokes as much as the manual one. All of these methods have their own advantages. You know, if you're looking for something really quick and easy, throw in your, you know, your manual or whatever. If you just need it in a few spots, that's fine. Now what I'm doing here is obviously not ombre. This is just showing shading. Okay, so that's pretty much doing the same amount of passes so you can see the difference. Like, let's zoom in here at damage control. Okay, so you can see with the machine, we didn't make that much. I wasn't going to say that much of a difference, but we didn't really hurt the strokes at all. Up here with the manual, you really, really, really do, because it's like violent. Okay, but just for the sake of this video, I'm going to do just a little up here. And a lot of the times, though, with the machine, you really, really do have to go over it several times for there to be any real effect. But also what I like to do when I'm doing machine is I like to, personally, I like to do the bottom. To give a little bit of extra definition. Again, I'm working with a 1P, so if I was working with a 3P, this would probably be faster and a little more dense. But I just wanted to show you the different shading methods. And I will say, 100%, if you microblade, you need to shade. Because there's too many people who get microblading who have no brows, and it just looks very bizarre to have these awkward hairs without anything behind them. So I really, really encourage shading. I mean, unless it's they have brows and they really just wanted some symmetry. That's totally fine, but I just like to, I mean, personally, I like to wake up myself in the morning and have brows on my face and walk out of the door. So that's why I have blade and shade. Okay, so I'm gonna turn this guy off. Alright, so let's zoom out here. So far we have 2 effects done. We have your manual jabbing shading, which is very cost effective, but you can see what it's gonna do. This is machine. Very subtle. Again, I only used the 1P, which is not gonna show too much. But like I said, again, for the video. Okay, but just go back. And so there we go. There's our 2 different ones. Looks good, right? Totally. Okay, Now for number 3. Okay, now I did this one sloppy on purpose. Don't think that I'm an idiot. I mean, well, you can think I'm an idiot. I am a little bit. FYI, I use this solution, the SMP solution from Scalpa. It's like 14 bucks. Not for this size anymore. He's now doing, I think it's like this size now. But I use this for my shading to dilute pigment. So you just put a couple drops into whatever you're using, unless you're using Permablend or Tina Davies, in which case you would use the shading solution. You can also use Witch Hazel. That's a good one, so I'm just going to give that a good stir. Okay. So next, we are going to do the rollers, mini pizza cutters. Okay, a lot of people are scared of these. I'm assuming because it looks medieval. And that's okay. I will tell you though, if you do choose to use Tina Davies with the shading rollers, or actually anything, if you use Tina Davies or Permablend, make sure you have some green soap or distilled water within grasp so that you can rinse these off. These or your blade, or a wet wipe, or whatever, or cotton round, just something, because that stuff dries up so fast, like seconds, that it will literally clog these. And the same with your blades. It's well, it's highly pigmented and it's good. Sorry, I'm thirsty. It is difficult to work with, but that's, again, my personal opinion. Okay, so a lot of people, like I said, feel that this is scary, but it is pretty dummy proof. Here you have to go repeatedly in the same spot and you don't know where you're going. Nothing against the machine at all. I mean, I love machine. But the roller is idiot proof. So we have 2. We have a 7mm here. So what this one is going to do, it's going to give you smaller holes that are also closer together. Okay? But the thing about it is it is very consistent, okay? It really won't permit you to go too deep, unlike manual. But it's consistent. Like, you're gonna get, I'll show you right now. So this is a 7mm. So we're gonna do it right here. Oh, it's green soap. I was like, why is that smearing? Not oil. So we're talking pretty consistent. So that's 7mm. So this is going to give you smaller holes closer together. Okay. 10mm is going to give you larger holes. And by larger, I don't mean like gigantic holes, but larger and further apart. But not crazy. This is literally what you do. Okay, so that's your difference between 7mm. With 7mm, you're going to get a more dense shade. With 10mm, you are going to get more of a, this is going to be more of the birdie effect and looser between like strokes. It's going to look pretty. So Here we go. We're gonna do the same thing we've been doing, tail and spine, and then just a few in the head. So you just go in. I really wish I had music on. Okay, so already you can see the effect, right? We're talking a lot less damage here than regular manual shading. So now again, with this one, I'm doing 7mm here on the tail. And I mean, you can hear it's not doing what the manual did. I mean, you're not jabbing, 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 jabbing. Okay, so now you can see that pixelated effect. Really nice. Okay, so now I'm gonna go with the 10. And I specifically gave myself some gaps here so that I could show you like the difference between shading with the needles like that and this. So we'll go in, let's just say here. The cool thing is you can literally go in there. I've said literally way too many times, literally. You can go on top of strokes and it will not blur out your strokes. And that is part of the reason I love this thing. Along with Machine. Machine is not going to blur out your strokes. Just for the record, for the first treatment, this is a personal preference, okay? Only personal. If you choose to go this route with manual shading, I highly, highly suggest you wait till touch up. You need these strokes to be established because this can really, it can really mess your strokes up, and you really don't want that. Nobody wants to have a blob. But with Machine and the roller, you can do it at the same treatment, in my opinion, because there is no disruption of strokes. I'm not gonna lie. This is all this device, or device. Are we gonna call this a device? What are we gonna? This tool, this blade, is fun on latex. It's really, really fun. I love it. So you can notice that I'm going over strokes. There we go. So now you can see what I really wanted to point out was how you can really see these dots. And people love that. People love the effect of seeing these pixelated dots, which I do too, especially on latex and skin. It's so pretty. So, what do we see here? No blurred strokes at all. Machine, no blurred strokes. Manual, blurred strokes. So now you can kind of see what I'm trying to say about if you're going to go the manual route, I highly suggest you do it at your second appointment. Because I really, really feel that you will end up ruining your microblading. And I use the wrong word, not ruining, but it's gonna make a big difference. And probably not a good one. But I do highly recommend you go, second visit or third, if there could be a third. You want those strokes established. If they're not, you're going to blur them out, I promise you. I've seen it happen. Machine, again, can be used whenever. That can be used, at the time of treatment. It's perfectly fine. Same thing with the roller. Nobody should be scared of this, I promise. It's amazing. Also, I still have my own self-made, well, these were cuts from my blade. I guess we're all cutters, right? But this was when I was testing the roller out when I first got it. And it's still there. And I think I got it, God, I want to say in like September. And I mean, it has not budged. So I did take the Scalpa removal course. So I'm going to be removing that. So we'll see how that goes. One other little trick I wanted to show you with the roller. Which also can be done with the machine. I do not at all suggest it with the with manual shading with needles like that, but it can be done with the machine. So what I'm gonna do is I'm taking the 10mm side, dipping it. I'm dipping it in my pigment, and I didn't even show you this, so I should have showed you this. When you do go in there, on the side of your cup, just roll it so that you're getting it on all of the blades or needles, whatever we want to call this. So, you know what, should I do this or should I do my latex? Let's just do it here. So let's say you have your outline. No, I'm going to do it on a regular piece of latex just to show you. All right. These are all crap. We'll do it here. Okay. So you have your outline, right? You've mapped everything out and everything looks great, and everybody's agreed on a shape. This is just a little trick. I have done it, and it does work on a human, not just on latex. So what we're gonna do is essentially, this is the same thing you would be doing with machine. Is take the roller, dip it in your pigment, like I said, and on your outline with your pencil, go in this is going over your pencil or your marker or whatever you're using. And you are outlining your shape permanently. Also, what some people have told me, I have a lot of friends, you know who you are, that are counters. And having these little dots will help you count your strokes. You don't need to do the head. I wouldn't do the head if I were you. Yeah, sure. It takes an extra minute, maybe. And that's okay, because so as you can see, there's just tiny dots of pigment laid. And it's not going to affect your brow the way, I know, probably, please ignore this side of whatever the hell I was doing. This is when I first got the machine, and this one looks like somebody had a stroke. Me. I was pretending like I was awesome and trying to do the nano strokes, and it did not work. I cannot get that at all. But point is don't worry about the dots. I know what's going through your head, oh my god, you're gonna see these tiny dots. No, you're not. I promise. So you can count, which is very helpful for a lot of people. As you know, everything that I've used minus the pigment is available on my website, www.btchandco. Right now, through Monday, we are doing 24% off everything, your entire purchase, and one of these comes with your order, the reusable pen. Please know that the reusable pen is made of alloy, and it needs to be disinfected or sterilized, with UV or gamma rays, no heat, no steam. I love this blade. It's like my favorite thing in the world. And let's not judge this either, please, because I am literally just doing it for the sake of to show you that the dots don't matter. Because after all is said and done, you're not going to see them. It's literally just for you, for a guide. There we go. Like I said, at the end of the day, you're not going to see these at all. They're not going to interfere with your job. I have done it. It has not interfered with anything. But look at those strokes. They're so crisp. This blade is dope. Okay. So, we're going to wrap this up in a minute. We've got option number 1 is manual shading. Jab, 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 jab. Jab, 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 jab. Option 2, machine. Pendulum motion. So many different, needles. Your 3P, the 5F, 3F. There's so many different options depending on what kind of, what kind of effect you're going for. And then last but not least, the rollers. What's not available on my site is the machine or the manual shading needles. So yeah, I just wanted to give you a little glimpse into the shading world. I will be totally honest with you. I think if you for the roller and for manual, if you go out and you buy the supplies, this is something you can teach yourself no matter what. 110%. The machine, I think it's good to get some education on the machine. Granted, everybody learns everything from YouTube anyway. But I think it's really good to get that extra knowledge of the machine and, speeds and depth and all that stuff. But both of these two, no lie, you can do this by yourself. And you can get, like I've said, I think I've said it 40 times in this video, so creative with manual shading. It's fun. And look at how pretty it looks on latex, even if you're just posting, some of your practice work on, on Instagram, like people are going to be like, oh, that cool, that's a cool effect, or, oh, how is that darker, or how is that darker? It's fun. But anyways, yes, these two, guess what? Teach yourself. I promise. It's simple, simple, simple. Machine, you got to learn about your machine before you get in there and start, messing with people's faces with an electronic device. But that's all. So I really hope this kind of, answered some questions. I'm more than willing to, make another video on any of these. If you need questions answered, I'm always here. It is, oh no, whatever. Yes, I'm always here to help. And I really, really I kind of hope that this it opened your eyes to the shading world. If in the event you do start manual, practice, be careful. Like I said, just be careful. This is a kind of medieval type of punishment. I shit you not. It's like... You know what I mean? Over and over again in the same spot. And you got to get in there, dude. You know? I mean, look at that. You kidding me? Like, the difference is ridiculous. And, of course, machine. I think the downside to the machine, if I will say anything at all, is, you know, you do have to go over quite a few times before you see actual great results. But you will see them, don't get me wrong. You know, you're going to get there. But it does take a while to get to that space. But you could do it. Everybody can do it. This is for everybody. Again, if you guys like my stuff, between stencils for, you know, the multi-purpose stencil, which is great. The universal pen, like I said, is free. Comes with every order. This bad boy. Rollers. The latex. Right now I do not have plain latex, but I will soon. Probably within the next month. I'll have blank latex as well as the printed, and I'm also thinking of I'm going to be drawing some new shapes and stuff like that. Also, there will be a pencil. The reveal of the pencil, hopefully, fingers crossed, will be within this month, if it's not earlier. I'm hoping it gets here very, very fast, but we will see. Okay, I love you all. Wrapping it up. Love you. Holler at me if you have any questions, or if I can help you in any way. You guys know I'm always here. Okay? And good luck. Shade on, sisters and brothers.